full of evil as the black pit. I just thought that I would warn you before we began tonight's show that if you are one of the sensitive ones, one of the queasy ones, I would like to respectfully suggest that you get the hell out of here. You have no business here. Hear what I said? I am serious about it. I got some real bad stuff for you tonight. I mean bad stuff. Just want to clear the clinkers out here and get ready. I mean, if you're a banshee, by God, you've got to know how to be one. Just sitting here, see, contemplating the infinite. Contemplating the evil that lurks in the hearts of men. And you can find it in the most inconsequential, the most innocent-looking packages. For example, I'm sitting there reading one of my favorite journals, the London Observer, which I always read, of course. There's a little picture here. You see this guy standing there dressed as a Napoleonic soldier? This is in the paper. This is the kind of stuff that's going on. Listen to this. It says, again, in the Observer, it says, we drove out to Waterloo for old time's sake and ran into Norbert Brassin, 65, a one-time mechanic, now a full-time collector of Napoleonica. He has thousands of volumes on the Emperor. His family owns a restaurant allegedly built from the relics of the battlefield. Brassin produced a cardboard box full of malodorous bones, which he claims his ancestors collected after the battle. He takes out his box of bones once in a while and sits there and enjoys them like any other relic.
Good evening, friends of the Mondo Diablo show. It's only a week until Halloween. Ironic, doesn't it seem, that the moment Halloween is over, that's when all hell finally decides to break loose. Yes, the Christmas shopping season isn't really the reason that the darkness of American souls is revealed. I've been hard at work on a Christmas presentation for my Freethinkers Club, an analysis and timeline of the transition or lack thereof between the winter solstice and the modern Christmas celebration. It seems that ghouls and goblins, witches and devils are traditionally associated with the winter solstice, and Halloween's just when it all begins. It's all about the darkness, friends. Even in Victorian times, Christmas cards were exchanged depicting witches on broomsticks and cute Victorian children flying through the air on bats. Anyone who listens to Mondo Diablo knows that St. Nicholas is often depicted accompanied by a particularly hideous demon with a particularly hideously long tongue. Well, friends, Krampus may have been shown wearing chains around his one cloven hoof and one yeti foot. But the good saint isn't always connected to the other end. Krampus scampers about finding like-minded children who do not respect the sacred hierarchies, and takes them with him back to his warm and inviting home.
Make-A-Witch pockmarked. Ingredients: butter, ivy or wintergreen, 3 coffin nails. Preparation: take the butter and broil it in an iron pan, frying the ivy or wintergreen. Stick the 3 nails in the sauce while saying the name of the appropriate witch. Now carry the sauce and nails into a place where neither sun nor moon shines through. The witch will now be sick for half a year, with pockmarks over her entire body.
Malodorous. He says the British government has offered to buy his collection for the nation. He likes to dress up like the old guard for what Napoleon's warriors called la croix et la prune. Otherwise, the Belgians don't go in much for eccentricity. However, old Norbert has his box of bones. Now, wait a minute, don't laugh. Don't laugh. Oh, no. Think of this for a moment. Think about it for a moment. He has collected the bones of the soldiers that were collected on the battlefield at Waterloo. Bones. Bones. Have you ever run into anything like that? Have you ever personally ever run into a collector of, let's say, Gruesome O-Mania? You haven't. I have. My God, what I have seen. What I have seen. I shouldn't even tell you. In fact, this doesn't really surprise me at all, because I one time had the first time I actually ran into a thing like this, I was about, I guess, 9. I'm going to warn you, it is a story that is liable to cause you to get up and jump up and run out into the john to retch for about half an hour. I'm just warning you. I don't want you to write back and say, "There, Mr. Shepard, that story was in bad taste. My cat was sick for a week after he..." I'm sorry, madam. I'm warning you. You must have fiber of steel to listen to this story. It's a sickening story. Oh, no, I shouldn't. Yes, you want to hear it? All right. I'm about 9, see? And, you never know what are contained in people's lives. And you walk past these guys' houses, and you look, and it looks like a house. You see a fern in the window, and you see a swing out on the porch. And you figure, it's just a plain ordinary house. These people are just walking around, making sandwiches, eating peanut butter, and watching TV and stuff. Don't you believe it? There's more than meets the eye. Norbert's sitting there dribbling those bones over his head, cackling. That's just scratching the surface. I'm about 9, see? I was about 9, I guess, yeah. And I was going to the Warren G. Harding School. Now, this is a time when you're made out of tinfoil, you can be bent in any direction. Now, had I not seen this, had I not had this experience, I could very easily have been one of those nice, warm, smiley guys like Mike Douglas. Who really believes in Phyllis Diller and stuff like that. Really loves it. Oh, yeah.
Sound of wings. Out of nowhere they appear and into I wonder if those who are sleeping in the ground are disturbed by the throbbing sound of a one-way path to eternity. Enclosed in my room, I speak to the quietness, breaking the silence. Enclosed in my room, I speak to the quietness, but no one replies. Eternal darkness, no light to see the unknown. I can only sleep. A single tear falls, a sad remembrance of the night when she was told. Voices of the night echoed by the winds of time. Can you not hear them?
But I was changed forever that afternoon into a totally different guy. I'm about 9, see? And up to this time, the only thing I ever saw, the most exciting thing I ever saw was like, you know, stuff like chocolate Easter bunnies, you know, kind of stuff. Yeah. Once in a while you'd see a Raggedy Ann doll, you know, maybe you see an Airedale walking down the street, biting somebody. You know, that's about it. That's about the extent of the horror in your life, you know? Well, I'm walking home from school one day, and I am with Schwartz, and I am with Flick, and I am with Bruner. We're walking down the alley, as we often did, kicking a tin can along. We had these, you know, kids invent games, continually inventing different games. They'll play the same game for about 3 days, and then they forget that one. They don't play that anymore. And they invent rules as they go along. And we had a game that involved carnation milk cans. You know, the little milk cans? And we'd look in the garbage, we'd find a carnation milk can, and instantly we would stop. We had various goals that we went. If the guy that would kick it, let's say, into Mrs. Snyder's garbage can, if you could kick it in, had a big concrete garbage can with a thing open there. If you kick it in there, that's 2 points. And then there would be a battle for that. Then somebody would fish it out, and you'd start kicking it forward again. The first kid, yeah, all little rules. He said, we're kicking this can down the street there, down the alley. We're kicking away there. And there's this kid with us named Jack Martin. Now, you don't hear me talk much about Martin on the show, because Martin was a sinister figure, in a way. He was a lone kid. He would sit in the corner, you know, and never say much. And he'd sit around and funny smile. So Jack Martin, Jack Martin is trailing along with us. We're kicking a can along there. See, well, we come along past Martin's house. Each kid would, as he would hit his house, he would peel off, and the game would change. You know, we'd get to Schwartz's house first, then Flick's house, then my house. After that would come Bruner's house. Each kid, you know, sort of tails off. Well, here's Martin. See, we're going along. Martin's house is first. So we're kicking a can along. He's just with us. See, he's not part of the game. He's just with us. So we're kicking a can. And all of a sudden, Martin, without any cueing, says, hey, you guys want to come in? I'll show you something. You know, I've never been in Martin's house. There's some kids that just are not part of the crowd. You don't go in his house or anything. You just know this kid. That's it. It's the first time he ever says, hey, you guys want to come in? I'll show you something. My first impulse was say, kick the can. Schwartz says, what? Martin says, well, I'll show you when we get in.
Hidey, hidey, hide.
Hidey, 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 hide.
Whoa. You didn't see me climb through the window. Nobody had to open that door. I just climbed right through the wall, and I want you one and all to stand aside and let me have the floor. Take a look, I'm not such a stranger. Here's the face you cookies all ought to know. You can tell me I'm not wanted, but the joints will still be haunted, 'cause I'm the ghost of Smokey Joe. Remember when I kicked the bucket in my mansion up on Strivers Row? When they came and took me off in a $1,000,000 coffin, 'cause I'm the ghost of Smokey Joe. Tell me, do you remember Minnie?
Yeah, we remember Minnie.
That frail I never found. You never recognized your Minnie. You mean to say that Minnie quit kicking the gong around? I got a date on my estate down in Hades. Call my chariot so I can go. And should the boot you're walking, just tell her you've been talking to the ghost of Smokey Joe. Yes, I remember Minnie. She's that frail I never found. You mean to say that Minnie quit kicking the gong around? I got a date on my stake down in Hades. Oh, but chariot so I can go. And should the moon you're walking, just tell her you've been talking to the ghost of Smokey.
What are you going to show us? Martin says, wouldn't you like to know? That's a typical answer, you know. Wouldn't you like to know? Flick says, no. Well, I'll show it if you come in. Well, Bruner says, let's go. Flick says, okay. I said, all right. Schwartz said, is anybody home? Martin says, nah. My old man's at work. My mother's ain't home. Okay. So we go drifting through the backyard. First time I've ever been in Martin's backyard. We go drifting through the backyard, up the back steps. And Martin fishes over the top of the door and gets the key down. You know, they hide the key on the top. He opens the door, says, come on in, you guys. And he had his house was kind of dark, you know, with the shades pulled down. Some people live with the shades pulled down all the time, you know. Shades pulled down, you can smell. Every house I've ever been in has a distinctive smell of the family that lives in that house. I'm sorry, it does. And it's never changing. I can still smell what Schwartz's house smells like. The minute I walk in, that's the Schwartz smell. Funny smell, you know, that's the smell of that house. Doppler's house had another smell. Flick's house had a smell of 12,000 dogs. Yeah, everyone named Zero. He had dogs. That's just every time, you know, I go past a place where I smell dogs, it's Flick, you know. Well, here I am in the Martin house. There's a funny smell. And the smell was a little bit like yeast. You know what yeast smells like? Yeast. It's Martin's house. We're in the kitchen now. It's dark. So Martin says, you guys want anything to eat? And he opens the refrigerator, a lot of stuff in the refrigerator. Flick says, yeah, what do you got? He said, I got some Cokes in there. So we're popping a Coke. You know, we're sitting there making a Cokes. And finally Schwartz says, what are you going to show us? Martin says, I don't think I should. He said, what do you mean you don't think you should? You got us in here because you're going to show us the stuff. I don't think so. And Pruitt says, oh, come on. Will you? You get us in the house here. What are you trying to do? Martin says, well, I don't think I should. It belongs to my dad. Oh, that's something else. And Flick says, belongs to your dad. What is it? I said, I don't know. I don't know whether I should show it to you. Flick says, come on. By this time, we're all sitting there. Yeah, what is it? Say. He says, well, look, you promise you won't tell nobody about this. And I'm going to tell you something, friend. This is the first time I have ever told this story, I will guarantee. In fact, I was not even reminded of any of this stuff. I sort of blocked it out in my head until I ran across this thing with Norbert, with the bones of the Napoleonic soldiers, and malodorous bones at that.
Having the midnight fling, the merry-making was in full swing. They shrieked themselves into a cheerful trance when the skeleton in the closet started to dance. A goblin giggled with fiendish glee, a shout rang out from the big banshee. Amazement was in every ghostly glance when the skeleton in the closet started to dance. All the witches were in stitches while the steps made rhythmic thumps, and they nearly dropped the broomsticks when he tried to do the bumps. You never heard such unearthly laughter or such hilarious groans when the skeleton in the closet rattled his bones. Oh, yeah.
Son. A son. Jesus wants me for a son. A son. A son. I'll be a son for him.
says it belongs. All of us, he says, come on down in the basement. All of us went down into Martin's basement. Now, his basement was the first one I saw like this. His basement was done up. It was finished. It had a playroom down there and all that stuff, you know. The basement I lived in, where our house was, had a bunch of old Allstate tires piled up to the ceiling, you know, and a lot of old pieces of angle iron and stuff down there, and a lot of wheels and junk, and a washing machine and stuff. But his basement had linoleum on the floor. And it had wood around the walls. And it had a pool table. It's the first time. It was a whole new thing. Same folks, hey, look at a pool table there. And with that Martin says, don't touch it, my man. Our man gets real mad if you play pool on it. He says, because, you know, he really gets mad. Don't mess around with it. He says, I want to show you what he's got. And so we go past the pool table. I can still see the scene. I did not have any idea what I was about to see. And Martin says, now, don't tell anybody about this. Don't tell anybody. And he opens this cabinet, which is on the side of the wall. And in the cabinet were these pool cues. These pool cues are all sitting there, see? And in the cabinet were some shelves right under the pool cues. We're all standing around looking, see, wait a second. It was a funny smell. Very funny smell as soon as he opened that cabinet door. He said, now, don't tell anybody. And he had a Prince Albert can. One of these pound cans. You know, they're red. Prince Albert. There's a picture of Prince Albert on the side. Have you seen them? The Prince Albert tobacco cans. It was on the shelf. He says, this is my old man's. Man, if he sees me showing you this, he's really going to skin me alive, man. He takes out the Prince Albert can, and he carries it over to the pool table. Puts it on the pool table. And says, now look, after I show you this, don't mention it to anybody. And I can only show it to you for a couple of seconds, and we got to get out of here. Because if he finds me messing with this, it's all over. So we're all hanging over the pool table. He says, look, he takes the top off. And we all peer in. He's got this yellow light bulb.
In the night, though we're apart, there's a ghost of you within my haunted heart. Ghost of you, my lost romance. Lips that sigh, eyes that dance. Haunted heart, won't let me be. Dreams repeat a sweet but lonely song to me. Dreams are just it's you who must belong to me and thrill my haunted heart. Be still, my haunted heart. Just it's you who must belong to me my haunted heart.
Well, sir, we've just had a county fair at Pumpkin Center, and gosh, I ain't got the noise out of my ears yet. Well, everybody had something on exhibition, and old Deacon Witherspoon was packing some apples in a barrel, and Jim Lawson come along. He says, Deacon, don't look to me like you was packing them apples in the Christian spirit. Deacon says, I ain't. I'm packing them in a barrel. And Jim says, wow, I notice you're putting all the big red rosy apples on top. And Deacon says, I'm packing them according to nature, Jim. Jim says, how's that, Deacon? Deacon says, why, you never see any cream in the bottom of the crop, did you? Well, sir, our town was never so full of people that want any place for them to sleep. We had to put some of them in the church. And along the night we heard the church bell ringing. Ezra Hoskins sent his boy High over to see what was the matter. And High come back, he says that feller in pew 17 wants another hymn book for a pillar. Well, we had a lot of shows at our fair. One of them they called Vaudeville. We all went in to see it and got sat down. And Heise Crosby and his gal Samantha was there. Fella come out, he was a magician, and he had a book, and he wrapped a handkerchief around it, and a towel around it, and a comforter around it, and then he blindfolded himself and read just what was in the book. And Samantha says, hi, let's get out of here. I got one of your love letters in my pocket. First thing we know, that darn fool will be reading of it. Then we went down to look at the stuff, and they had a lot of hogs on exhibition, and Jim Lawson got to talking to a feller what owned some of them. Says they look kind of peculiar. How did you fatten them? Feller says, I just turned them out in the pasture and let them get fat on grass. Jim says, took a lot of time, didn't it? Feller said, yes, but what's time to a hog? Well, see, there was one hog there. He could drink slop out of a jug, and the judge gave him the first premium. And we asked him what he give that no-account hog the first premium for. He said, on account of speed. And we asked him what speed had to do with a hog. He said, well, down where he lived, if you had a hog that couldn't outrun the neighbors, you might as well not have the hog.
In the can is a wad of cotton. He says, now watch, look at this. He takes the cotton off, and there inside was this little brown thing. It was on another wad of cotton just laying in there. And I looked down in to see what it is. And just then, Schwartz goes, ah! Ooh, what is it? It had a fingernail on it. A fingernail on that little brown thing. And then I saw what it was. It was the second joints, the fingernail, and the first and second joints of a finger. A finger. And it was brown and dry. Had a fingernail on it. And flicked back. Someone said, what is that? Where'd you get that? And Jack Martin said, it belongs to my dad. You know whose finger that is? I said, whose? Jack Martin said, did you guys ever hear of John Dillinger? That is John Dillinger's little finger. Schwartz and John Dillinger's little finger. What do you mean? Where did you get? Where'd your dad get that? My dad was in the next block when Dillinger was shot. And he ran down there and saw all this stuff going on and all these people, and he saw it was Dillinger. And this is what he got. Well, we looked at it and hung around for a second. Martin put the top back on and stuck it back in the cabinet. We went back upstairs, and not one of us said a word. Martin says to Schwartz, why don't you finish your peanut butter sandwich? Schwartz says, well, I'm going to have supper pretty soon. I'm going to have supper pretty soon, and, you know. Well, thanks, Martin. That was real interesting. You won't tell anybody. Schwartz says, I won't tell nobody. I said, I won't tell nobody. Bruner didn't say anything. He just gulped. Fletcher stood there in sweat. We went out the back door, me and Schwartz and Flick and Bruner. We got back out in the alley, and Flick says, let's kick the can. Schwartz says, I don't want to kick the can.
Bells beckon to hereafter. All is forsaken when toll is taken. Hell's bells ringing in my ears. It's certainly hot, the rhythm just swells. Now somebody's got a hold of those bells. They're starting to ring, they're starting to sing, and somebody yells, it must be hell's bells.
glimpses of intimate things, a voice in my heart like a torch singer sings. I wonder who's kissing him now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long. The ceiling is white, but the shadows are black. A voice in my heart says he'll never come back.
Walk down through the dusk. You're listening to a guy that saw John Dillinger's left little finger. That's what they said it was, anyway. God only knows what it really was, but I can tell you this. It sure as hell had a fingernail on it. That I know. I told you it was going to be a sickening, rotten story. And that isn't the end of it. That is not the end of it. Because not more than 3 months after that, the sequel to it was even more fantastic. That's why I told you not to listen tonight. I mean, I doubt whether any of you have ever seen the finger of a live, walking around human being in a Prince Albert can. Not one of you. And you know I couldn't make up something like that. Oh, my. I remember, I've seen some scenes, I'll tell you. I remember one time, in the same, not more than 3 months later, in the same scene, I saw this guy say, he says to me, he's like another kid, he says, hey, do you want to see something? I said, what? Oh, I better not tell you this. I said, what? Anytime somebody sidles up to you and says out of the corner of his mouth, hey, do you want to see something? You got your choice right there. You're going to see something you may not want to see. Or you can go ever and through your life and forever be one of the innocent ones. I'll tell you. This kid says to me, hey, do you want to see something? I says, yeah. He says, well, come with me. Well, right next to the school, there was a swamp. And this swamp was very wide, tremendous wide swamp. And it's like the Jersey marshes out here, you know, it had cattails and all that stuff. So he said, come on out to the swamp with me. So we go out to the swamp, and I don't know how this ever happened, and then who did it or why. We go through the woods and the weeds and the water and the swamp and the glop. We go about a half a mile. He says, wait till you see this. And there, sitting amid a pile of rubble and cattails, trees, was a little shack. He says, take a look at that. Somebody, I'm just telling you exactly what I saw. I shouldn't tell you this. This is going to have you screaming all night. Somebody no, I better not tell you this. It's a terrible story. No, you don't want to hear this.
Hush, hush, sweet Charlotte, Charlotte, don't you cry. Hush, hush, sweet Charlotte, I'll love you till I die. Oh, hold me, darling, please hold me tight and brush that tear from your eye. You weep because you had a dream last night. You dreamed that I said goodbye. Hush, hush, sweet Charlotte, Charlotte, don't you cry. Hush, hush, sweet Charlotte, I'll love you till I die. I hold 2 roses within my hand, 2 roses I'll give to you. The red rose tells you of my passion, and the white rose my love so true. Hush, hush, sweet Charlotte, Charlotte, don't you cry. Hush, hush, sweet Charlotte, I'll love you till I die. Hush, hush, sweet Charlotte, I'll love you till I die.
No, I better not tell you this story. No, it's a terrible story. I mean, when I saw this thing, I almost flipped. Well, all right, there was a shack in a swamp. And you wonder why I have this curious sense of what's going on. When you see things like this, you just can't turn around. Anyway, here was this little shack. It was made out of old wood, and it was tumbled down. I'd seen it many times. You know, when you go out in the swamp, the kids would play out there, and it was always there. And it was old, and it had been there for many years, and it was just practically decayed, and the roof was falling down. It was nobody could live in it or anything. It was just an old, battered old shack in the middle of the trees with cattails all around it, water and swamp. And we knew how to get through to that. See, we could hop from island to island and run through the mud and up and down this thing. I couldn't believe it. I better not tell you this. All right, give me a little spooky music, man. I'm going to tell you. They're nailed to the side of the shack, believe it or not. Well, I might as well come right out and tell you. It was a hand. Bring it up big. Somebody had nailed a hand. That's all, just a hand. Well, I was about 20 feet away, let's say. And I said, oh, my God. Oh, still, have you ever seen a hand nailed to something? There was a hand. And it was a nail right through. It was on the side of this bed, you know, right there. The swine. They scud right. Don't, oh, wow. I saw it the other day when I was on the swamp. Well, the 2 of us, it scared us. We you know, he had seen it before, but now it scared him all over. We ran like hell back to this place. Back to school. We ran back through the swamp. And I'm about, 50% hysterical. We get back out to the playground. We're walking through the playground, and I said, we got to tell somebody about that. And he says, oh, don't tell anybody. I said, I'm going to tell him. I'm going to tell Mr. Sanderson. He said, don't tell him. We're going to get in trouble. I said, oh, I'm going to tell him Mr. Sanderson was the school janitor. And he was always there by the front of the school. So I said, I've got to tell him. He said, oh, no, don't. We're going to get in trouble. I said, come on, Scott, we're going to tell him. The 2 of us went over. And this guy said, he's got a corn cob pipe. He says, what's the matter with you guys? I said, there's a hand out there nailed to the shack out in the woods. He said, a hand? Are you out of your mind? Yeah, there's a hand. He said, come on, you kids. Are you putting me on? I said, no, there's a hand out there. And he took off like a bird. He ran into the swamp.
We lay, my love and I,
London lodger's life. The ghost of Anne Boleyn walks, they declare. Poor Anne Boleyn was once King Henry's wife, until he made the headsman bob her hair. Ah yes, he did her wrong long years ago, and she comes up at night to tell him so. With her head tucked underneath her arm, she walks the bloody tower. With her head tucked underneath her arm at the midnight hour.
She comes to haunt King Henry, she means giving him what for. Gadzooks, she's going to tell him off, she's feeling very sore. And just in case the headsman wants to give her an encore,
she has her head tucked underneath her arm. With her head tucked underneath her arm, she walks the bloody tower. With her head tucked underneath her arm at the midnight hour.
The sentries think that it's a football that she carries in, and when they've had a few, they shout, "His army going to win?" They think that it's Red Range instead of poor old Anne Boleyn,
with her head tucked underneath her arm. Sometimes gay King Henry gives a spread for all his pals and gals, a ghostly crew. The headsman carves the joint and cuts the bread, and in comes Anne Boleyn to queer the do. She holds her head up with a wild war whoop, and Henry cries, "Don't drop it in the soup." With her head tucked underneath her arm, she walks the bloody tower. With her head tucked underneath her arm at the midnight hour. One night she caught King Henry, he was in the canteen bar. Said he, "Are you Jane Seymour, Anne Boleyn, or Catherine Parr?" "Oh, how the sweet Sam Perry, Anne, do I know who you are?" With your head tucked underneath your arm.
5 minutes later, he was back with blood in his eye. There was a hand to the side of that building. I'm not going to tell you the rest of it. Bring it up there, please, Bill. That's for next semester. Oh, man, thank you, Bill. That's enough. I don't want to tell you anymore. Okay? Now, you wanted to hear the end, didn't you? Of course. Now, what if I told you I got 5 years? I spent them in the Michigan City pen, huh? Would you accept that? Yeah, you probably would. That's the trouble. Yeah, then I'd have to, of course, then immediately 5 agents would call me up and try to get me, get me folk singing gigs. But, nevertheless, the sequel of this is insane. We were called up to Miss Norton's office. She was the principal. And me and this kid and Mr. Simonson, Sanderson, rather, all of us are, he drags us in there. And he says, "Tell her." And so we told her, we saw his hand. He says, "Yeah, there's a hand out there." Jeez, a hand out there in the swamp? And this became, incidentally, quite a cause celeb. So at that point, she says, "I'm going to call the police." So she did. And about 20 minutes later, and we're sitting in the office waiting to see what, was going to happen. The police came. They went out there. This police sergeant came back. His face is as red as a beet. Somebody had nailed a glove to the side of the wall. And all of us had seen, every one of us had seen a hand when we went out there. It was the swamp. It was being out there in the woods with the snakes. It was being out there with the cattails, with the wind blowing, and the spooky sounds going through the trees. It was just out there and began to rot your head. I saw a hand. I swear it was a hand. Mr. Sanderson saw a hand. Everybody saw a hand. Except the police sergeant. He saw a plain, ordinary work glove. It was kind of white, a glove. Somebody had nailed it there. Well, I want to tell you this. You see a hand a glove nailed to the side of a building, man, and that'll scare you. Speaking of of scary moments, I am going to be, let's see, I've got to find it here. Or should we save this for no? Let's give it a little. All right, listen. We'll save it we'll save this for next week. I think the grotesque is always just on the edge of our subconscious, and it is. There's no question about it. That what is it in us that makes us want to get scared? People love horror stories.
I was walking alone Saturday night. Me and my baby, we had a fight. When a creature swooped down in the gloom and rode away with me on her broom.
Oh, Earthman, I've come to take you.
Spacemen fly. Soon as we got there, I knew why. The shakes and the shivers ran down my spine. It was the land of the female Frankenstein.
Oh, Earthman, you're gonna like it.
Blackbirds nested it in their hair. I tried to run, but what could I do? They had 4 legs where I had 2. They hugged me for breakfast, squeezed me for lunch, and just like bananas, they kissed me a bunch. Weren't no stopping them, no siree, and that was the start of the finish of me. They had me. Like Macbeth, 'cause they hugged and squeezed and kissed me to death. So take care, brother, whatever you do, don't let the screaming meanies get you, or you'll be.
Listen, and we will explain the sad, sad story of electronic brain. The greatest invention, the smartest of all. But he just kept us saying as he stood by the wall.
I am the electronic brain with the highest IQ that you can obtain. I can count every star in the heavens above, but I have no heart, I can't fall in love.
He has no heart, he can't fall in love. A girl in the office where the brain was installed saw him in action and she was enthralled. She said, I love you and will till I die. His tubes turned red and he said with a sigh,
I am the electronic brain with the highest IQ that you can obtain. I can count every star in the heavens above, but I have no heart, I can't fall in love.
He has no heart, he can't fall in love. The brain got so nervous it nearly went mad. Its wires got twisted, his switches went bad. The girl kept avowing her love for him, and he kept replying as his battery went dim.
I am the electronic brain with the highest IQ that you can obtain. I can count every star in the heavens above, but I have no heart, I can't fall in love.
He has no heart, he can't fall in love. the best brain alive. So what chance has man against her sweet way? Like electronic brain, he finally will say,
I am the electronic brain, with the highest IQ that you can obtain. I can count every star in the heavens above, but I have no heart, I can't fall in love.
he has no heart, he can't fall in love.
But I have no heart, I can't fall in love.
He has no heart, he can't fall in love.
And why? You'd think they wouldn't like him. But it's evil. It's like the time all of us, me and Flick and Schwartz, creeped up to this house one day, and these people were having a seance. You ever seen a seance from the outside? With the red light hanging over the table and all these people sitting around the table with their hands on this table, and one of the people, this lady, sort of an old lady, was leaning back in her chair, and her mouth was open, and she was making these strange screaming sounds. Watching this. I mean, let me tell you, the peeping Tom sees a hell of a lot more than bare bottoms, friends. I can guarantee you that. There's some things he doesn't want to see. And we're all looking through the window at this thing with the red light bulb. And the worst part of it is that I always took the paper to this lady. She was the lady who I always took papers to. I was a paper boy at the time. I never could look at her the same. After that moment, with her eyeballs rolling and she's screaming, there's a trumpet hanging up in the air there and it's blowing something. And you could see Abraham Lincoln's head floating around in the darkness with the red light flickering over it all, and a hand tacked to the side of a shack out in the swamp. Dillinger's finger with a fingernail on it. Oh, God. Oh, the evil that lies in the hearts of men, only the deep pit knows. The deep, deep pit.
Jesus wants me for a sunbeam to shine for him for each day.
Yes, next Sunday is Halloween. Is it a slap in the face to the church? It seems some churches are seeking help from the likes of the ACLU to liberate itself from the claws of the Halloween Bacchanalia. How short is the memory of church leaders, or of any leaders for that matter? The church used to live and breathe on Halloween demons, witches, and monsters. No longer are they satisfied to make themselves the heroes who vanquish the dark forces. No, the church thrives today on being the victim of dark forces. The church needs the world to remain in the dark in order to remind us that we are all frightened prey, so let us pray. It is science that has emerged the victor over the dark and scary forces that imprisoned us inside our houses, with our broomsticks hidden away, holly fastened to the door to capture evil sprites in its thorns. It is technology that, in Victorian days, gave us light to kill the darkness and caused the sentimental Victorians to look back at the dark forces with humor and nostalgia, turning ghosts and goblins into whimsy and children's stories in the spirit of secularism. So maybe it's not the dark forces of Satanism that spooks the church into trying to turn the date October 31st into October 32nd. It's the fun that adults are having, turning witches into prostitutes and goblins into bon vivants. Why, we're taking away Christianity's power. Perhaps they should think about turning that into a victim-like win. Until next week, pleasant dreams.